Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is not going to be, I think, one of my funnier live streams. As you know by now, the U.S. invaded Venezuela in the middle of the night and kidnapped President Maduro and his wife. Who knows how many they killed in the process? You got to assume. I mean, they were bombing around Caracas, as you can see in that video right there. And who knows how many they killed. I mean, you got to assume they shot his guards. You got to assume that the bombing these military installations killed plenty of people. It may be a while before we get an exact number of how many innocent people were murdered so that the imperial forces can steal oil. That's what this comes down to. I'll do more on that in a moment, because as is the usual, I like to bring to you the stuff that is not in your mainstream media. You can turn on CNN or Fox News right now and hear a combination of, well, what are the ramifications of this? Does Trump have the legal precedent? You'll hear a bunch of like shit tons of military fetishism, where they have on generals and various former CIA, FBI, national security, whatever, people that used to have little golden things on their shoulders, and they'll say, "Oh, well, this is quite a precision strike. This was done with really impressive job." Because if you focus on the military fetishism, then you don't have to look at the actual reality of what this is. This is a country invading another country, kidnapping and indicting in the U.S. That's one of the more recent updates. They have indicted Maduro in New York City under drug trafficking charges, which I'll talk about that in a second. But this is a country invading another country in order to steal their resources. And it's also kind of funny because you look at all the propaganda that's been done against Russia during the proxy war in Ukraine. It was all about, oh, Putin's the next Hitler. He's going to invade all of Europe. He's going to go everywhere, where there's been no signs that he's going anywhere except for the proxy war in Ukraine. Whereas the U.S., you actually see those things. You actually see that the U.S. is jumping from country to country to put in the governments that we see fit in order to steal their resources. A lot of this was foretold in recent months. I didn't know it would happen this quickly or that it would happen exactly like this, but in many ways, I got a lot of this right. I said they were going to try and do it exactly in a previous live stream. They were going to do it try and do it exactly like Panama. When we invaded Panama, we went in, we killed, 1,000 people. Doesn't really, 1,000 people, what's that matter? Killed about 1,000 people, maybe more, kidnapped Noriega and brought him to the U.S. to put him in prison for decades. This is a game plan the U.S. has used before when we think we have enough military power to go in so easily and kidnap a president. But on top of just this is the Panama plan all over again, you can also look at some of the other things that foretold this, which I didn't quite notice that this was a telling secret maybe. But the fact that the U.S. was jamming GPS signals above Venezuela, right? I covered that a week ago or something, where they were making it so that planes could not, you have JetBlue pilots saying, there's people flying blind up here. They're not on our GPS. Well, why would the U.S. do that weeks ahead of this invasion? It was basically a test balloon. The U.S. Imperial forces have put out a lot of test balloons to see what the reaction would be. They jammed GPS signals of flights above Venezuela. The bombing of the fishermen off of Venezuela, although it was to attempt to create some sort of casus belli, some sort of reason for this invasion and kidnapping, but no one really bought it. I mean, even the latest polling was that 17% of America thought we should invade Venezuela, which, if you consider Trump's base is about 40-50%, to only have 17% shows that this is a pathetic excuse for invading Venezuela. No one's really buying this. So I think on top of the creating that justification, false justification for kidnapping Maduro, it was also another test balloon, which was to see, can we blow up fishermen off of Venezuela? Can we bomb literally Venezuelans and also other countries, well, Colombian, Trinidadian, etc. But can we bomb Venezuelans and have essentially no response from the global community? So that was a test balloon as well, because they knew this was the plan all along, and they wanted to see how the global community would respond. Well, how are you going to respond to this? The other nations? How are you going to respond to this? Europe? Are you getting furious yet that the U.S. is literally just bombing, kidnapping, cooing any country they want? At what point do you get fucking mad? And I'm talking not just the people in the streets, not just that we should protest in America. I'm talking the people with a lot of power. I'm talking the heads of states of other countries. Are you going to stand up at all? Oh, no. Same shit. Same, isn't that America being America? Just sit back and watch it happen. It's fucking repulsive. I'm going to read to you, by the way, this is not just breaking news of me ranting, although that seems to be what it is so far. I'm going to read to you Venezuela's statement, which is not being read largely in the mainstream media at all, because they don't want you to know Venezuela's truth as to what is going on here. Let me do that here in just a second. For those of you just joining, please click thumbs up, do all that shit. But as I said, the U.S. has invaded Venezuela, bombed Venezuela, kidnapped Maduro and his wife. You got to assume killed many in this process. Maduro has apparently been indicted in New York courts because you can indict a ham sandwich. As many of you know, there's absolutely no reason to indict the Venezuelan president. Oh, let me say this before I read the statement from Venezuela, that let's play the even if game. This is an important game to play when you're looking at the reasoning behind the awful shit that the United States does. Even if Maduro were involved in drug trafficking, which he's not. Even the DEA has said that something like 5% of the drugs that come into the United States ever touch Venezuela. It is far more coming from Mexico and Colombia and other countries. It is almost non-existent from Venezuela, and literally 0% of fentanyl is coming through Venezuela. So the idea that we're doing this about drugs, I mean, I think most of you know that's laughable, but I'm just reminding you. And Jolly Pop says Russia and China have registered their disapproval. That does seem to be, as we commit genocide in Gaza for over 2 years, we would like to register our disapproval. That is, we do not approve. I don't know why I'm giving them a British accent, but we do not approve of this invading of other countries. Thank you, VC Nick, for supporting the show. But even if Maduro were involved in this hilarious drug trafficking falsehood, you still can't go into a country and kidnap their fucking leader. You can't. No country should be allowed to. Because think about that. And not that a lot of people would have a problem with this, but think of how much justification that would give for other countries to just come into the United States, kidnap Trump. Absolutely. I mean, look at all the corrupt shit he's doing. If you're allowed to just go into any country you disapprove of their behavior and kidnap their fucking president, this whole world would be mayhem. I mean, it is, but it'd be more mayhem. You get that? I hope somebody's taking notes. Good luck transcribing that AI algorithm. Yeah. But you could, literally, if every country behaved the way the United States behaved, you would have just kidnappings of every world leader going on. And again, I know there's many where you'd be like, amen, brother. But still, the only way you ever have peace in this world is if countries are not doing exactly what the United States is doing. And I know a lot of you, because you watch my show, you know the real reasons the U.S. doing this. I'm going to get into that as well in a moment. Okay, let me get to, thank you also, Margot, for supporting the show. I'm going to get to this statement by Venezuela, because this is what the mainstream media will not bring to you. This is published over at OrinocoTribune.com. They're a great source for Venezuelan content or what's going on in Venezuela. If you want the not bullshit, not Western, United States, U.S. empire propaganda view of things, if you want the reality, go to Orinoco Tribune, go to Venezuela Lab Analysis.com, go to mintpress.com, go to Popular Resistance. There are so many great outlets. We put them all at radindymedia.com. And I know that sounds like I'm plugging ads here, but it's free for you guys to use. So radindymedia.com, it's all there. Yeah, I don't think Netanyahu is still in the U.S., but it's a great point by Citizen Pendejo that why are we not kidnapping Netanyahu? Netanyahu, unlike Maduro, literally has arrest warrants out for him, arrest warrants out on his head by the international court. So he sounds like a good person to kidnap. Okay, I said I'm going to read this about 14 times. This is a statement from the Venezuelan government. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela rejects, repudiates, and denounces before the international community the extremely serious military aggression perpetrated by the current government of the United States of America against Venezuelan territory and population in the civilian and military localities of Caracas, the capital, Miranda, Aragua, and La Guaira. This act constitutes a flagrant violation of the Charter of the UN, especially Articles 1 and 2, which enshrine respect for the sovereignty, the legal equality of states, and the prohibition of the use of force. Such aggression threatens international peace and stability, specifically in Latin America and the Caribbean, and puts the lives of millions of people at serious risk. The objective of this attack is none other than to seize Venezuelan strategic resources, particularly its oil and minerals, in an attempt to forcibly break the nation's political independence. I'm going to pause right there for a second and go ahead and give you, and again, I know many of you know this because you're regular viewers, but this is the real reason the United States is invading and kidnapping Maduro, invading Venezuela. The real reason, and you can never get this from the mainstream media. They might mention oil, okay? Depending on whether it's one of the slightly progressive news reporters, they might mention oil. What they will never mention, they will essentially never mention that Venezuela has more oil than any country in the world. Literally more oil than any fucking country. More oil than Saudi Arabia, more oil than Iraq, more oil than Iran, more oil than any country. But here's the part that I dare anyone to find a clip of the mainstream media mentioning. It's not just about stealing the oil. It is about the petrodollar. The United States dollar is premised on the petrodollar. The reason the U.S. can print out endless number of dollars and not have the currency become worthless is because that the dollar, unlike all other countries, is premised on a combination of the petrodollar and the U.S. dollar being the global reserve currency. But the U.S. dollar would not be the global reserve currency if it weren't for the petrodollar. So in order for the U.S. empire to maintain, it needs everyone to keep pumping fossil fuels and using fossil fuels, and it needs those fossil fuels to be sold in dollars. Venezuela does not sell their oil, and largely just can't sell their oil at all, but sells some of it. But they almost exclusively do not sell it in U.S. dollars. Now, the U.S. was very happy, or somewhat happy, with the way they had this system for a while. Go back 10 years or whatever. They had put enough sanctions on Venezuela that they couldn't pump much oil. So there was not a lot of oil being pumped outside the petrodollar from Venezuela. That was good enough for a while. But the U.S. is getting so desperate. And Saudi Arabia, first of all, countries are leaving the petro at all, leaving fossil fuels because moving on to green energy. I mean, you look at China. China has a goal for like 5-10 years from now to have solar panels on every house. They are, if you actually look per capita rather than just listing nations, which is a non-stat, but you actually look per capita, they are above all other countries easily in terms of green energy. 1.4 billion people. They're getting more and more energy from green energy. On top of that, they're making huge strides in fusion energy, which would be unlimited free energy for the world. The United States can't have any of that. We need fossil fuels to pump in order for our currency to remain so valuable. But secondly, you have even Saudi Arabia, which is the linchpin to OPEC. You have Saudi Arabia talking about moving and making moves outside of the petrodollar. The petrodollar deal was not re-signed. Largely, Saudi Arabia is still selling in petrodollars, but they're moving out of it in some ways. And the United States has very much feared that they could lose this petrodollar, what's called in great euphemism, privilege, the privilege of the petrodollar. Now, you know how, you know one way you can tell just how important the petrodollar is? It is almost never mentioned in mainstream media. They can't say the word. You can't even, last I checked several months ago, there wasn't even a Wikipedia article on what the petrodollar is. You can find a Wikipedia in English. You can find a Wikipedia article on petrodollar recycling, which is part of the economics of petrodollar, but you couldn't find one on the petro. Does that mean it's not important? No, it's the fucking most important thing in the world for the United States. But yet Wikipedia, you can find a Wikipedia article on the type of pantalones worn in 1772, you know, the designs. Oh, well, the seashell designed pantalones of 1772, but you can't find an article in English on the petrodollar. Anyway, this is the key to what is going on right now. All right, let me get back to this statement. The objective is to steal the minerals and resources. They will not succeed. After more than 200 years of independence, the people and their legitimate government remain steadfast in defending their sovereignty and their inalienable right to decide their own destiny. This is a statement from the Venezuelan government. The attempt to impose a colonial war to destroy the Republican form of government and force a regime change in alliance with the fascist oligarchy will fail, like all previous attempts. And yes, there is a fascist oligarchy in Venezuela. The current government, and this started with Chavez and has moved on to Maduro, the current government is not the oligarchy. It's not the ruling elite. It's not the rich, who are largely lighter skinned. So there is a racial dynamic as well. Chavez and Maduro and this leadership of the Bolivarian Revolution has been the people. It's been the poorer people, statistically, ruling the country. And they have tried to give the resources of Venezuela back to the people, unlike the oligarchy, unlike the rich, right? What we have in the United States. We have the rich oligarchy in power. The Bolivarian Revolution would be like if the more poor, the middle class and below, took over the country and refused to allow the oligarchy to continue to get rich off the resources of the United States. Now, we don't have that. We don't have anything close to that, but they had that in Venezuela and continue to for the moment. So this is very much a class war. Like, people need to understand that all these wars, in some regard, sometimes a very obvious regard, come down to class war. Venezuela is ruled by the non-rich people at the moment, since Chavez took power, and now Maduro. The United States is ruled by the mega rich, right? The cabinet, Trump's a billionaire. The cabinet has 13 billionaires in it. One of the most powerful people still to this day in the Trump government is the richest man in the world with $750 billion, Elon Musk. We are ruled by the absolute, egregiously, disgustingly wealthy. Venezuela, at the moment, is ruled by the non-egregiously wealthy, and they took power away from those oligarchs in their revolution. So if you understand how class war works, then you should be on the side of not the 0.001% that are trying to steal those resources again. And I should have said this much earlier, but Trump has said publicly, after the lies about drugs and stuff wasn't really working, Trump has said publicly, we need to take that oil back. Like, he has given the real reason we're doing this. He basically said they have our oil. I mean, the sentence was like, we had contracts there and they took them. So it's just about as close to they have our oil as you can get. Okay. Since 1811, Venezuela has confronted and defeated empires. When foreign powers bombarded our coast in 1902, President Castro proclaimed, different Castro than Cuba, the insolent foot of the foreigner has profaned the sacred soil of the fatherland. Today, with the spirit of Bolivar and Miranda and the liberators, the Venezuelan people rise again to defend their independence in the face of imperial aggression. People to the streets is what the Venezuelan statement says. And I should remind everyone that the U.S. tried this with Chavez, right? They kidnapped him. It only lasted 2 days or less than 2 days before the people took to the streets. The military took over and demanded Chavez back. And ultimately, they won. Chavez was put back into power. Look up the, I think 2002, is it? Was it 2002 or 2004? I believe 2002 coup of Chavez. It was U.S. backed. They kidnapped him for like a day and a half. He said he was nearly executed. Once he was back in power, he put out statements saying he was nearly executed on a military base in Venezuela. The U.S. is working very hard to not make that quote-unquote mistake again. They don't want Maduro back into power. So instead of holding him on a military base in Venezuela where he could ultimately take back control, they have flown him to New York and indicted him in New York City on false charges. So they're trying hard for this not to be the Chavez incident all over again. However, if the people in Venezuela take to the streets and demand the Bolivarian revolution continue, you could still see someone in power who stands for the Bolivarian revolution. You could still see someone in power who represents the people as opposed to the oligarchy. And right now, I guess, I don't know if they've made the official statement, but probably the person in power is Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, who is also part of the Bolivarian Revolution. What the Trump administration and these imperial kidnappers want to see happen is they're trying to put into power Maria Corina Machado, the pro-war, pro-destruction of her own country, pro-oligarchy, pro-giving away the resources of Venezuela, coup monger, who was given the Nobel Peace Prize by a completely corrupt and ridiculous Nobel Peace Prize committee that gave a Nobel Peace Prize to Henry Kissinger, for one. So they're trying to install her. She has publicly called for a U.S. invasion of Venezuela. She's called for the resources to be given away. She has literally said, like, once I get into power, we'll be open for business to just hand out our whatever she said, $8 trillion of resources. Like, she is just calling for the raping and pillaging of her country. That is who the U.S. is hoping to put into power. At this moment, she is not in power. Also, a lot of analysts have said that she doesn't have the military. Like, she doesn't have most of the people. No one's ever voted for her for president of Venezuela. So the idea that she could just be installed is very questionable at best. To continue from the statement from the Venezuelan government, the Bolivarian government calls on all social and political forces in the country to activate mobilization plans and repudiate this imperialist attack. The people of Venezuela and the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, in perfect popular military police fusion, are deployed to guarantee sovereignty and peace. Simultaneously, the Bolivarian peace diplomacy will file the corresponding complaints with the UN Security Council, the Secretary General of that organization, CELAC and NAM, demanding the condemnation and accountability of the U.S. government. President Maduro has ordered that all national defense plans be implemented at the appropriate time and under the appropriate circumstances in strict accordance with the provisions of the Constitution of the Republic and organic law, states of emergency, organic law, national security. In this regard, President Maduro has signed and ordered the implementation of the decree declaring a state of external commotion throughout the national territory in order to protect the rights of the population, the full functioning of the Republican institutions, and immediately move to armed struggle. The entire country must mobilize to defeat this imperialist aggression. And, on that point, like, to understand how much Trump, like, let's say you don't care at all about Venezuela. Let's say you don't care about Venezuela. You don't care about Venezuelans. You don't give a shit. Doesn't matter if it's a 3-year-old baby Venezuelan. It doesn't matter. You don't care about any of them. You just care about the United States. You're like, oh, well, fuck them. Doesn't matter. Do you understand the risk this is putting to the entire world? Who knows where this goes next? Maybe it goes to all-out armed struggles across fucking Venezuela that then spawns armed struggles elsewhere. Maybe Venezuela does their best to send forces into the United States. Like, who knows where this goes? Maybe China and Russia and Iran and other countries stand up for Venezuela, and all of a sudden you're on the brink of nuclear war. Like, this puts all of us at risk. Donald Trump is playing with all of our lives. You don't have to give a shit about Venezuelans to understand how fucking scary this is and how fucked up this regime is, meaning the U.S. Trump regime. And of course, this, Trump is elevating all of these things, all of these horrible imperial tactics. But the truth is, the United States has been trying to coup Venezuela for years. We have sent people into Venezuela to coup them. They have caught CIA operatives in Venezuela. Venezuela has stopped recently false flag efforts to attempt to bomb the U.S. embassy in Venezuela to make it look like Venezuelans did that. Like, this has been ongoing. As I said, they tried to coup Chavez in 2002 and kidnap him. Let's see, last part of the Venezuelan statement. Similarly, he has ordered the immediate deployment of the Command for the Comprehensive Defense of the Nation, the comprehensive defense management bodies in all states and municipalities of the country. In accordance with Article 51 of the Charter of the UN, Venezuela reserves the right to exercise legitimate defense to protect its people, its territory, and its independence. As Supreme Commander Hugo Chavez pointed out, in the face of any difficulties, whatever their magnitude, the response of all patriots is unity, struggle, battle, and victory. So that is Venezuela's statement on what is going on right now. And of course, one aspect of this is how much will the United States U.S. citizens put up with this garbage? Like, are there going to be wide-scale protests? Are Americans going to be furious and do whatever we can to stop this? Or is it just left to see whether Venezuelans can fend off the U.S. imperial jackboot thugs? This is so horrific to watch the U.S. empire continue to behave this way. And let's not forget that the U.S. empire, thank you, VC Nick, for supporting the show. Let's not forget that the U.S. empire was committing genocide for over 2 years now. And the first over a year under the Biden administration. So don't pretend that the U.S. empire is, it's just bad now. It just got bad. Just got bad yesterday. Look at my watch. No, it's horrific. It's anti-life. It's anti-humanity. This military is a bloodthirsty machine that must churn up other countries to try and fuel its profit-seeking bloodlust. It is so unbelievable to watch this shit go down. And so many people are so misinformed by it. There's no mainstream media outlet you can turn to that will give you the truth about what the fuck is going on right now. Obviously you can get the straight up pro-fascist shit from Fox News, but you can also get the quasi pro-fascist shit from CNN, who says, oh, I don't like how Trump did this, but yeah, it's a good idea to go after Venezuela or whatever. Totally horrific to see, the U.S. behave this way. It was something else I was going to say on the ongoing situation, who they will go after next. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is this also is in line with the National Security Strategy report that came out a couple weeks ago. I covered it on this show. And it basically said, it made quite clear, we're going to back off China, because essentially the United States got their ass kicked in the trade war and realize they need to prep themselves for a war with China rather than attempt it now, both economic and otherwise. So they're backing off China, and instead it says we're going to focus on our hemisphere or our area of influence, which is the Monroe Doctrine, which basically says the United States, the U.S. empire, owns all of Latin America, owns all of North America, owns Canada, owns Mexico, owns all of these things, and we're going to make sure we have those things. So basically, the U.S. is backing off China for a bit so that we can go in, tear up Latin America, exploit it as much as possible, steal as much of the resources, steal as much of the human labor, and that is what we're seeing. This is the evidence. This is the proof in the pudding. This is exactly what was stated in the National Strategy Report that most people ignored, covered on this show, is that we're going to steal Latin America and make sure we have everything we want to pillage from Latin America, and then once we've prepped ourselves for a few years, we'll go back to the economic war and possibly more with China. Yet again, and this is Venezuela analysis I just put on the screen. For those of you who want good updates on what is going on in Venezuela, please, I beg of you, don't turn to any mainstream media. Turn to Venezuela analysis. Turn to Orinoco Tribune. I just posted a Substack, a very short Substack piece on it. But you should also turn to Mint Press. Turn to, I assume, Dropsite News is doing good work on it. I know they've been great on Gaza. I haven't seen anything from them about Venezuela, but I assume Dropsite News maybe doesn't quite understand the petrodollar implications or doesn't care to dig into it. But anyway, these are the outlets you should turn to. Rad Indie Media posts all of these outlets, by the way, radindiemedia.com. It is free to go there. Okay, I'm going to wrap up in a minute with this half-hour breaking newscast. Please, if you get a chance, spread this news. Yes, Gray Zone also does great work on Venezuela. Please spread this news. Like, tell people where to get their information and their updates, because they don't know. Americans don't know. We are the most strikingly ignorant people on earth. And go to some of these great outlets and learn what's going on. Check out my Substack. I just posted an article. I may be posting more about this soon. reallycamp.substack.com. You can subscribe for free, and then you'll get an email every time I put up one of those posts. Again, I put up a breaking news thing about this an hour before I came on the live stream here. So I hope you will do that. Subscribe for free, reallycamp.substack.com. Obviously, if you want to become a paid subscriber, if 2 coffees a month is worth it for you to have this information, then that would be amazing as well. But really, I just want to make sure you subscribe for free as well. You can also, if you prefer Patreon, patreon.com/LeeCamp. Oh, God, what a fucked up new year. Jesus almighty. Jesus is not the almighty. If you think he is, that's fine. I'm fine with people's religion. You do what you do. Just, I didn't want you to think I was saying Jesus is almighty. You do your almighty thing. However, whatever the mighty all you want to give, whoever you want to give all the mighty, you do that. I'll do my thing. That was not my point. There, I ended on a joke. I ended on a funny, folks. Just for you. Oh, shit, this world is fucked up. All right. I will see you Monday for another live stream. Maybe I'll have another breaking news tomorrow. I don't know. Oh, shit, this year already sucks. It already sucks.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book, Same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha.